You've asked the universe for something. Nothing happened. What if you were speaking the wrong language? Right now, invisible forces are shaping your life. You can't see them, but they obey rules. Learn the rules, control the forces. 3 people manifest $1 million this year. 3 others with identical desires get nothing. The difference? 1 skill you'll master in the next few hours. What if every failed manifestation was actually working, just building the opposite of what you wanted? Here's what almost nobody talks about. Children manifest faster than adults, and trying harder makes manifestation fail. By the end of this audiobook, you'll know exactly why both of those statements are true, and you'll know how to use that knowledge to bend reality in your favor. Let me tell you about Sarah. She spent 3 years visualizing her dream house. Every morning, vision board. Every night, affirmations. She could describe the kitchen tile, the view from the master bedroom, the way light would hit the hardwood floors at sunset. 3 years of perfect practice. Nothing. Not even close. Then her friend mentioned something casually over coffee. 1 sentence that changed everything, and Sarah had the keys to her dream house 4 months later. The sentence wasn't complicated. It wasn't even mystical, but it revealed the one thing Sarah had been doing wrong the entire time. The thing that almost everyone gets wrong. The thing that turns manifestation from a beautiful theory into a frustrating loop of hoping and failing and trying again. That sentence is coming soon. But first you need to understand why you've been speaking the wrong language this whole time. The universe doesn't hear English. It doesn't hear your affirmations. It doesn't see your vision board. What it responds to is frequency. And frequency isn't your words or your images or even your thoughts. Frequency is the emotional electromagnetic signature you're broadcasting every single second, whether you know it or not. Most people are trying to manifest from desire, which is actually the frequency of lack. They're saying I want love while broadcasting I don't have love. They're saying I want money while their nervous system is screaming I'm broke and scared. And the universe, which is not a Santa Claus or a cosmic vending machine, but a neutral responsive field, simply matches the frequency. It gives you more of what you are, not what you say you want. This is the manifestation paradox. The harder you try, the worse it gets. Because trying is the frequency of not having. Effort is the confession of absence. When you truly have something, you don't try to get it. You simply are it. A millionaire doesn't try to have money. A person in love doesn't try to have love. They embody the frequency of already having, and reality reflects that frequency back to them in material form. So the first crack in your manifestation practice, the first place most people fail, is here. They think manifestation is about doing more, wanting more, working harder at their visualizations, adding more affirmations, stacking more techniques. But all of that is effort. All of that is trying. And trying is the opposite of having. The skill you're about to learn is how to surrender into having, how to let yourself embody the version of you for whom your desire is already done, already complete, already effortless. There are 3 hidden laws that govern manifestation, and nobody teaches all 3 together. Most teachers give you 1, maybe 2, but without all 3 you're flying blind. The first law is frequency matching. The universe doesn't give you what you want. It matches your frequency. If you're vibrating at the frequency of fear, you get circumstances that generate more fear. If you're vibrating at peace, you get circumstances that reinforce peace. This isn't punishment or reward. It's physics. Like attracts like, not as a moral principle, but as an electromagnetic fact. The second law is assumption hardening. Whatever you assume to be true becomes the lens through which you filter reality. If you assume people are untrustworthy, you'll find evidence everywhere. If you assume opportunities are scarce, scarcity is all you'll see. But here's the key. Assumptions harden over time. The longer you hold an assumption, the more reality bends to confirm it. This works in your favor or against you. The people who manifest quickly have hardened assumptions of ease, of worthiness, of things working out. The people who struggle have hardened assumptions of difficulty, of not being enough, of life being hard. And once an assumption hardens, it runs on autopilot. You don't have to think it anymore. It thinks you. The third law is identity locking. You cannot out-manifest your identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with money, you can visualize wealth all day long, and your identity will sabotage every result. Because identity is the deepest frequency. It's the operating system beneath your thoughts and feelings. When your identity shifts, manifestation happens automatically. You don't have to force anything. You become someone who naturally attracts what you want because it's aligned with who you are. Most people are trying to get things that contradict their identity, and that's why the things never come. Or if they do come, they disappear quickly because identity always wins. Now let's talk about why your manifestations keep failing. There are 7 types of blocks, and you have at least one, probably 2 or 3. The first block is fear of success. Sounds counterintuitive, but most people are terrified of getting what they want because it would mean change, visibility, responsibility, or proving themselves. It's safer to want something than to have it. Wanting keeps you in the familiar zone of striving. Having forces you into unknown territory, so your subconscious sabotages every manifestation right before it lands. The second block is unworthiness. Deep down, you don't believe you deserve it. Maybe you were taught that wanting things is selfish. Maybe you internalized shame around having more than others. Maybe you believe good things happen to other people, but not you. This is the most common block, and it's invisible because it operates beneath conscious thought. You can affirm I am worthy all day long, but if the neural pathways in your brain are wired for I am not enough, the affirmations bounce off like rubber bullets. The third block is conflicting desires. You say you want financial freedom, but you also want security, and you've wired security to mean a steady paycheck from a job you hate. You can't have both, so the universe gives you neither. You say you want a relationship, but you also want complete autonomy, and your definition of autonomy means never being vulnerable or accountable to anyone. The universe can't deliver contradictory frequencies. You have to choose one or integrate both into a new frequency altogether. The fourth block is identity mismatch. You want the thing, but you haven't become the person who has the thing. You want to be a successful business owner, but your identity is still employee. You want to be in a loving partnership, but your identity is still single and self-protective. You want abundance, but your identity is still someone who counts pennies and fears loss. Until identity shifts, the manifestation has nowhere to land. It's like trying to run new software on an old operating system. It crashes. The fifth block is energetic debt. You're holding on to resentment, guilt, grudges, or unprocessed trauma, and all of that creates dense, low-frequency energy that acts like a weight on your manifestation capacity. You can't vibrate at the frequency of love and abundance while carrying a backpack full of rage and shame. The universe doesn't judge this. It just reflects it. If you're energetically congested, your manifestations will be too. The sixth block is receiver malfunction. You've been in survival mode so long that your nervous system doesn't know how to receive. Good things make you uncomfortable. Compliments bounce off. Money comes in and immediately goes out. You don't trust ease. You don't trust support. So even when the universe sends you what you asked for, you reject it, deflect it, or sabotage it, because receiving feels more dangerous than struggling. The seventh block is false timelines. You've decided it has to happen in a specific way, by a specific time, through a specific person or path. You've narrowed the universe down to one single acceptable route, and you're ignoring every other door it's trying to open for you. This is control masquerading as clarity. It's fear masquerading as focus. The universe has 1,000 ways to deliver your desire, but you'll only accept one, so you miss all the others. Take a moment right now. Pause if you need to. Think about the manifestation you've been working on, the one that hasn't shown up yet. Which of these 7 blocks resonates most strongly? You probably felt a little ping when I described one of them. That's your block. Write it down, name it, because you can't shift what you can't see. Now let's talk about the language of the unseen. You've been taught to manifest with words. Affirmations, scripts, declarations. But words are surface level. The unseen doesn't speak English. It speaks frequency, and frequency is a feeling tone, an energetic signature, a body-based state. So if you want the unseen to obey you, you have to learn to speak its language. There's a 4-step translation process, and once you master it, manifestation stops being hit or miss and starts being predictable. Step 1 is sensation. Drop out of your head and into your body. What does your desire feel like in your body? Not what you think about it, not what you hope for, but what is the somatic experience of already having it? Maybe it's a warmth in your chest. Maybe it's a lightness in your shoulders. Maybe it's a tingling. Step 2 is emotion. What emotion lives inside that sensation? Not the emotion of wanting it, but the emotion of having it. Is it peace? Is it joy? Is it confidence? Is it relief? Is it excitement? Most people skip this step and stay stuck in the wanting emotion, which is longing, which is lack. You have to bypass longing entirely and go straight to the having emotion. If you wanted financial freedom and now you have it, what's the emotion? Probably ease, spaciousness, security. That's your target frequency. Step 3 is image. Now that you have the sensation and the emotion, Let your mind offer up a single symbolic image that represents this state. It doesn't have to be literal. It doesn't have to be the actual thing you want. It just has to capture the essence. Maybe the image is an open sky. Maybe it's a door swinging open. Maybe it's yourself standing on solid ground. This image becomes your shorthand. When you drop into the sensation and emotion and call up this image, you've compressed your entire manifestation into a single, high-potency signal that the universe can read instantly. Step 4 is transmission. This is where most people fumble. They do the first 3 steps and then they grip. They try to send the signal harder, push the frequency louder, effort their way into making it stick. But transmission is about release. You load the frequency into your body, you let it saturate your system, and then you exhale it into the field. No force, no control. Just broadcast and let go. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every 5 minutes to check if it's growing. You place it in the soil, cover it, water it, and walk away. The earth does the rest. The universe is the same. Load your frequency, release it into the field, and trust the intelligence of the unseen to handle the details. Let's do a quick exercise right now. I'm going to guide you through this translation process in real time. Find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you're not driving or walking. Take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it for 3 seconds, and let it out slowly through your mouth. Do that again. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. One more time. In, hold, release. Now bring to mind something you want to manifest. Don't overthink it. Let the first thing that comes up be the thing. Now, instead of thinking about it, drop into your body. Imagine you already have this thing. It's done. It's complete. It's yours. What does that feel like in your body? Scan your chest, your belly, your shoulders, your throat. Where do you feel the shift? Maybe there's a warmth, a softness, an opening. Just notice it. Don't judge it. Just feel it. Now name the emotion that lives inside that sensation. Is it relief, peace, excitement, confidence, joy, freedom? Let the word come to you. Don't force it. Whatever arises first is correct. Now let an image arise. It might be abstract. It might be literal. It might be symbolic. Just let your mind offer you a single snapshot that captures this emotional frequency. See it clearly. Let it imprint. Now take one more deep breath in. As you exhale, imagine this entire frequency, the sensation, the emotion, the image, all of it, pouring out of you like light and dissolving into the space around you. Release it completely. Let it go into the field. Let the unseen receive it. Trust that it's done. Open your eyes when you're ready. That's the process. Sensation, emotion, image, transmission. You just spoke the language of the unseen. And if you felt even a flicker of shift in your body during that exercise, you made contact. The field received your signal. Now your job is to stay out of the way and let it respond. But here's where most people derail. They do the process once and then they spend the next 3 days checking for results. Did it work yet? Is it coming? Why isn't it here? And all of that checking is the frequency of doubt, which cancels out the original transmission. So now we need to talk about assumption architecture, because assumption is what holds your frequency in place even when the outer world hasn't caught up yet. An assumption is a belief you've decided is true, regardless of evidence. Most people think they need evidence first, then they'll believe. But that's backwards. In manifestation, belief creates evidence. Assumption generates reality. If you assume you're someone things work out for, they will. If you assume life is hard, it will be. The universe is neutral. It's not rooting for you or against you. It's just matching your assumptions and reflecting them back to you as experience. So the question is, how do you build an assumption strong enough that it overrides your current reality? Because right now, your current reality is screaming at you that your manifestation isn't here yet. Your bank account, your relationship status, your health, whatever it is. The physical evidence is contradicting your desire. And your brain, which is wired to trust evidence, wants to collapse back into doubt. Assumption architecture is how you prevent that collapse. The first step is past tense scripting. You write or speak from the perspective of your future self, looking back at the manifestation as something that already happened. Not I will have this. Not I hope for this. But I remember when that finally showed up. I remember how surprised I was at how fast it came. I remember thinking I should have trusted this process sooner. Past tense locks the assumption into your subconscious as fact. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between memory and imagination. If you feed it a vivid past tense memory of something, it files it as real and begins acting accordingly. The second step is identity integration. You don't just script the event. You script the identity of the person who experienced the event. Who were you when that manifestation landed? How did you carry yourself? What did you stop worrying about? What became effortless? What did you start taking for granted? Right from that identity. I am someone who always finds the right opportunities. I am someone money flows to easily. I am someone who attracts loving, supportive people. These aren't affirmations. These are identity statements. And identity is the frequency that holds your assumption in place, even when circumstances are screaming otherwise. The third step is evidence collection. Your brain needs proof to lock in the assumption, but it doesn't have to be proof of the full manifestation. You train your brain to look for tiny pieces of evidence that your assumption is already true. Maybe you wanted financial abundance and someone buys you coffee unexpectedly. That's evidence. The universe is showing you that resources come to you. Maybe you wanted a relationship and a stranger smiles at you warmly. That's evidence. You're someone people are drawn to. You're not waiting for the big thing to believe. You're collecting breadcrumbs that convince your subconscious the assumption is already operational. And the more evidence you collect, the more your brain relaxes into certainty, and certainty is the frequency that accelerates manifestation. The fourth step is contradiction elimination. This is where most people leak energy and wonder why nothing's working. They do the scripting, they embody the identity, they collect evidence, and then they talk to a friend and say, yeah, I'm trying to manifest this thing, but it's not working yet. I don't know if it's going to happen. That single sentence just nuked the assumption. You contradicted yourself. You told the universe two different things, so it gave you neither. Assumption architecture requires that you stop contradicting your own frequency. That doesn't mean you fake positivity. It means you stop speaking, thinking, and acting from the old identity. You stop feeding the assumption of lack. You stop entertaining doubt as a valid perspective. You treat your new assumption the way you'd treat gravity. You don't debate whether gravity is real. You just assume it and move through the world accordingly. Here's a real-life example. There was a man named David. He'd been unemployed for 7 months. Rent overdue, savings gone, interviews going nowhere. Every day he woke up in panic. Every day he sent out resumes and got nothing back. His assumption, though he didn't realize it, was, I'm unhireable. Nobody wants me. I'm too old, too inexperienced, too something. That assumption was broadcasting loud and clear, and the universe was matching it perfectly. 0 job offers. Then someone told him about assumption architecture. He didn't believe it. He thought it was delusional. But he was desperate enough to try. He stopped saying, I need a job. He stopped checking his email every 5 minutes. He stopped talking to his friends about how hard the job market was. Instead, he started scripting in past tense. I remember the morning I got the offer. I remember how relieved I felt. I remember calling my mom and hearing the excitement in her voice. He did that every morning for 5 minutes. Then he went about his day acting as if he was someone who already had the job, someone who was calm, someone who trusted the process. He stopped applying to jobs frantically. He applied selectively, from a place of I'm choosing where I want to work, not please anyone, hire me. 3 weeks later, he got a call. A company he'd interviewed with months ago had a position open up unexpectedly. They remembered him. They wanted him to start immediately. The salary was higher than he'd even asked for. When he told me the story, he said the wildest part wasn't that he got the job. The wildest part was that the panic disappeared before the job showed up. His assumption shifted first. His frequency changed, and reality had no choice but to follow. Now let's talk about identity, because this is where everything either clicks into place or falls apart. You cannot out-manifest your identity if your identity is broke. So how do you shift identity? You can't think your way into a new identity. You can't affirm your way in. You have to live your way in. Identity shifts through action, through embodied experience, through becoming. The process is simple, but it requires commitment. You start making decisions from the identity of the person who already has what you want. Not I'll do this once I have it, but I'm doing this because I already am that person. If you want financial abundance, you start making decisions like someone who has financial abundance. Maybe that means you stop checking your bank account obsessively. Maybe that means you buy the higher quality version of something instead of the cheapest. Maybe that means you tip generously, not to manipulate the universe, but because that's what someone with an abundance identity does. They don't operate from scarcity. They operate from overflow. If you want a loving relationship, you start treating yourself the way someone in a loving relationship would be treated. You make time for rest. You honor your needs. You speak kindly to yourself. You create space in your life for partnership instead of filling every second with distractions. You start being the person someone would want to be in a relationship with. Not because you're performing for an audience, but because that's your identity now. If you want to be a successful creator, you start creating from the identity of someone who's already successful. You don't wait for permission. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You don't wait until you feel ready. You just create consistently because that's what creators do. And as you do that, day after day, your brain starts wiring new neural pathways that say, oh, this is who we are now. And once your brain accepts the new identity, everything else falls into place. Let's do another quick grounding exercise. I want you to take a moment and think about the identity you're trying to step into. Who is the version of you that already has your manifestation? Don't describe what they have. Describe who they are. How do they move through the world? What do they take for granted? What do they no longer worry about? What do they prioritize? What do they say no to easily? Close your eyes again if you can. Take a slow breath in. Hold it for 4 counts. Exhale for 6. Do that one more time. In for 4, hold, out for 6. Now imagine you're looking at this future version of yourself. They're standing in front of you. Notice their posture. Notice their energy. Notice the look in their eyes. This isn't some distant fantasy. This is you, just a few steps ahead. Now imagine stepping forward and merging with them. You become them. Feel their confidence. Feel their ease. Feel their knowing. Take one more deep breath as this version of yourself. And as you exhale, let that identity anchor into your body. Open your eyes. You just tried on your future identity. And here's the truth. It's not actually a future identity. It's available right now. You don't have to wait until the manifestation shows up to become that person. You become that person, and then the manifestation has no choice but to show up because you're a vibrational match. Now we need to talk about one of the most misunderstood aspects of manifestation. And this is where people get stuck in agonizing loops of hope and disappointment. It's the concept of detachment. Everyone tells you to detach, to let go, to surrender. But then you think, if I let go, doesn't that mean I don't care anymore? If I detach, doesn't that cancel out my desire? And so you end up in this weird middle zone where you're trying to want something and not want it at the same time, and it feels like cognitive dissonance. Here's the truth. Detachment doesn't mean you stop wanting. It means you stop needing. Want is high frequency. Need is low frequency. Want says, I would love to have this and I'm good either way. Need says, I have to have this or I'm not okay. Want is playful. Need is desperate. And the universe responds to frequency, not effort. So wanting accelerates manifestation. Needing repels it. The way to detach without losing desire is to fall in love with the frequency of having your desire more than the material form of your desire. You want the thing, but what you really want is the feeling the thing will give you. And here's the secret. You can generate that feeling right now without the thing. If you wanted money because you thought it would give you security and freedom, you can practice feeling secure and free right now, in this moment, regardless of your bank account. And when you do that, when you embody the frequency of already having what the thing would give you, you detach from the form and you attach to the essence. And the universe can deliver the essence in 1,000 different forms, including the exact form you wanted, but also forms you didn't even know were possible. So detachment is not apathy. It's not giving up. It's not pretending you don't care. It's deep trust. It's, I know this is coming because I've already become the frequency of it, so whether it shows up tomorrow or 3 months from now, I'm not in a panic because I already have the essence of it inside me. That's detachment. That's surrender. And that's the frequency that makes manifestation inevitable. Let me give you another story. There was a woman named Lisa. She wanted to travel the world. She had vision boards covered in pictures of Bali and Paris and Patagonia. She saved every penny. She planned itineraries. She watched travel vlogs obsessively. But she was stuck in a job she hated, barely making enough to cover bills, and every time she looked at a flight price, she felt sick. She was vibrating at the frequency of I can't afford this. I'm trapped. This will never happen. And so it didn't. Then she shifted her approach. Instead of obsessing over the trips, she started asking herself, what is it about travel that I actually want? And the answer was freedom, adventure, novelty, expansion. So she started creating those feelings in her current life. She took a different route to work every day. She tried new foods. She explored parts of her own city she'd never seen. She read books set in foreign countries and let herself feel the expansiveness of those worlds. She stopped waiting for travel to give her the feeling and started generating the feeling herself. And something interesting happened. She stopped feeling desperate. She stopped checking flight prices every day. She stopped resenting her job because she wasn't using it as a prison anymore. She was using it as a resource while she built the frequency of adventure into her daily life. And within 6 months, her company offered her a remote position. Then a friend invited her on a trip to Costa Rica and paid for half of it. Then she got a freelance gig that paid triple her usual rate. Within a year, she'd been to 5 countries. But the shift didn't start with the trips. It started with her detaching from the form and embodying the essence. Do you see the difference? She stopped needing travel to feel free. She started feeling free, and then travel showed up. That's how detachment works. That's how surrender works. You stop gripping the form, you embody the frequency, and reality bends to meet you. Now let's talk about something that almost no one teaches. And this is going to give you an edge that most people never tap into. It's called the synchronicity loop. Synchronicities are not random. They're not coincidences. They're the universe showing you that you're in alignment, that your frequency is locked in, that the manifestation is already in motion even if you can't see the full picture yet. And once you learn how to activate deliberate synchronicities, you can essentially engineer proof that the unseen is obeying you. Here's how it works. When you're in alignment, when your assumption is solid and your identity has shifted, the universe starts sending you winks, repeating numbers, unexpected messages, symbolic encounters, songs on the radio that match your exact thoughts, people mentioning the exact thing you were just thinking about. These aren't accidents. These are breadcrumbs. The universe is saying, keep going. You're on the right path. I'm listening. I'm responding. But most people miss the winks because they're either not paying attention or they dismiss them as coincidence. And when you dismiss a wink, you break the loop. But when you acknowledge a wink, when you say, okay, I see that, thank you, you amplify the signal. You tell the universe, I'm paying attention. Send me more. And it does. And as the winks accumulate, your belief strengthens, your frequency stabilizes, and the manifestation accelerates. So here's the practice. Every morning set an intention. Not a big, heavy, effortful intention. Just a simple signal. Something like, I'm open to receiving a clear sign today that my manifestation is unfolding. Or, show me evidence that I'm on the right path. Then you go about your day, but you stay alert. You watch for the winks. And when you see one, you acknowledge it. Out loud if you can, or in your mind. You say, I see you. I receive that. Thank you. And then, this is the key. You take one aligned action in response to the wink. If you see repeating numbers and you've been procrastinating on something, that's your cue to do the thing. If someone mentions a book and you feel a pull to read it, you order the book. If you randomly think of someone and they text you 5 minutes later, you respond with presence instead of brushing it off. Every wink is an invitation to co-create with the universe. And every aligned action you take in response to a wink tightens the loop. You're showing the universe, I'm not just a passive receiver, I'm an active participant. And the more you participate, the faster the synchronicities stack, and the faster your manifestation materializes. Now, there's a specific window of time that most people completely miss. And if you can catch this window, you can collapse timelines and manifest in days instead of months. It's called the 72-hour acceleration window. And it opens right after a peak emotional state. Either a deep release, a breakthrough, a moment of absolute certainty, or a state of pure joy. In that moment, your frequency is wide open. Your resistance is down. Your subconscious is receptive. And if you saturate those 72 hours with your new assumption and identity, the manifestation locks in at a neurological and energetic level. Here's what you do. The moment you feel that peak state, whether it's after a powerful meditation, after a cry that released old pain, after a moment of clarity where you just knew everything was going to be okay, you mark the time. That's hour 0. For the next 72 hours, you become militant about your frequency. You don't consume content that contradicts your assumption. You don't engage in conversations that pull you back into doubt. You don't scroll social media and compare yourself to others. You protect your field like your life depends on it. Because in a way it does. This is your window. During those 72 hours, you script in past tense every morning. You embody your new identity in every decision. You speak only from the assumption that it's already done. You collect evidence obsessively. Every tiny sign, every small win, every synchronicity. You write it down. You're building a case file for your subconscious that says, see, it's already happening. And by the time you hit hour 72, your brain has rewired. The new assumption is hardened. The identity is locked in, and the manifestation is already on its way, even if you can't see it yet. Most people miss this window because they don't recognize it. They have the peak state, and then they go back to their regular life, their regular conversations, their regular doubts. and the window closes. The frequency drops. The manifestation loses momentum. But if you catch the window, if you ride that 72-hour wave with full commitment, you'll see results that seem miraculous. But they're not miracles. They're just physics. You aligned with the frequency, you held it steady, and the universe matched it. Now let's talk about what happens when you've done everything right and the manifestation still hasn't shown up. This is where people spiral. They think, it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, and nothing's changed. I must be doing it wrong. The universe must not be listening. Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe I'm not meant to have this. And all of that doubt collapses the frequency and resets the timer back to 0. Here's the truth. There's always a lag between inner shift and outer evidence. Always. You don't plant a seed and see a tree the next day. You don't lift weights once and wake up with muscle. And you don't shift your frequency and have reality instantly rearrange itself. There's a gestation period. The unseen is working behind the scenes, lining up people, circumstances, opportunities, timing. And your job during the lag is not to panic. Your job is to trust the inner evidence more than the outer circumstances. Inner evidence is the shift in how you feel. Maybe you're less anxious. Maybe you're sleeping better. Maybe you're not obsessing over the thing anymore. Maybe you're noticing new thoughts, new ideas, new behaviors. Those are signs that the frequency has shifted. And if the frequency has shifted, the outer reality has no choice but to follow. It's just a matter of time. So instead of checking the outer world every day for proof, you check the inner world. And you trust that as long as the inner is shifting, the outer is too, even if you can't see it yet. The other thing that happens during the lag is false starts. You'll get a sign that looks like the manifestation is coming, and then it fizzles. You'll get a job interview, and then they go with someone else. You'll meet someone who feels like the one, and then they ghost. You'll see a financial opportunity, and then it falls through. And you think, see? It's not working. But false starts aren't failures. They're recalibrations. The universe is showing you that you're close, that the frequency is locked in, that the manifestation is on its way. But there's a detail that needs to shift. Maybe your assumption needs to deepen. Maybe your identity needs one more layer of integration. Maybe there's one more piece of resistance you need to release. False starts are course corrections. They're not signs to give up. They're signs to refine. So during the lag, your practice is simple. Stay in the frequency. Keep embodying the identity. Keep collecting inner evidence. Keep acknowledging synchronicities. And stop putting a deadline on the universe. Because here's the thing. When you set a hard deadline, you're operating from control, not trust. You're saying it has to happen by this date or I'm not okay. And that's need, not want. That's desperation, not alignment. So you can have a preference for timing, but you can't attach your worth or your peace to that timing. You have to be okay either way. And when you're okay either way, that's when it shows up. Let me tell you one more story before we move into the deeper work. There was a man named James. He wanted to write a book. He'd been wanting to write this book for 10 years. He had the idea. He had the outline. But every time he sat down to write, nothing came. He'd stare at the blank page, feel overwhelmed, and give up. He hired coaches. He took courses. He tried all the productivity hacks. Nothing worked. And he was convinced he just wasn't meant to be a writer. Then he learned about identity, and he realized the problem wasn't his schedule or his discipline. The problem was his identity. He saw himself as someone who wanted to write, not as a writer. And those are two completely different frequencies. So he made a decision. He started introducing himself as a writer. At parties, at networking events, to family, people would ask, "What do you do?" And instead of saying, "I work in marketing, but I'm trying to write a book," he said, "I'm a writer." And at first it felt fake. It felt like a lie. But he kept doing it and something shifted. Because when you claim an identity out loud, your brain has to reconcile it. And his brain started asking, okay, if we're a writer, what do writers do? And the answer was obvious. Writers write. So he started writing, not because he had some burst of motivation, not because he finally figured out the perfect routine, but because writers write. That's what they do. And within 3 months, he had a first draft. Within a year, the book was published. And when people asked him what changed, he said, "I stopped trying to become a writer, and I just became one." That's identity shift. That's how it works. Now let's talk about upgrading your manifestations. Because once you get the hang of this, once you start seeing results, there's a tendency to stay small. You manifest parking spots and free coffee and small amounts of money, and you think, okay, this works, but only for little things. Big things are different. Big things are harder. And that belief is the only thing keeping you small. There is no difference energetically between manifesting $1 and manifesting $1 million. The process is identical. The only difference is your belief about what's possible. And your belief about what's possible is just another assumption. So if you can manifest small things, you can manifest big things. You just have to stop categorizing them as different. The way to upgrade is to shift from manifesting fixes to manifesting a life frequency. Instead of asking for individual things, you ask, what frequency do I want my entire life to operate at? And then you embody that frequency, and everything you need flows from it. If the frequency is effortless expansion, then money comes effortlessly. Relationships come effortlessly. Opportunities come effortlessly. If the frequency is joyful abundance, then everything in your life starts reflecting joy and abundance. You stop chasing individual manifestations, and you start living as the frequency that generates endless manifestations automatically. This is mastery. This is when manifestation stops being something you do and becomes who you are. You're not trying to get things from the universe anymore. You're co-creating with it. You're in a constant feedback loop of frequency transmission and reality response, and it's so natural, so effortless, that you forget you ever struggled with it. To get there, you need a maintenance system, because frequency doesn't maintain itself. You have to tend it. You have to protect it. You have to recalibrate it when life knocks you off center, and that's what the daily practice is for. It's not some long, complicated ritual. It's a series of micro practices that keep you locked into your chosen frequency, no matter what's happening around you. Every morning, 5 minutes, you do a frequency calibration. You scan your body, you notice where you're holding tension or resistance, and you breathe into it. You remind yourself of your core assumption. You set an intention for evidence and synchronicities. You anchor into the identity of the person who already has what you want. 5 minutes, that's it. And it sets the tone for the entire day, midday, 2 minutes. You do an identity check-in. You ask yourself, am I being the person who has this, or am I being the person who wants this? And if you've slipped back into wanting, you course correct. You make one decision, take one action, or shift one thought from the new identity. 2 minutes. Keeps you on track. Evening. You harvest gratitude, not generic gratitude. Specific evidence. You write down 3 things that happened today that prove your manifestation is already unfolding. Maybe it's a synchronicity. Maybe it's a shift in your mood. Maybe it's a conversation that opened a new door. You're training your brain to see evidence everywhere. And the more evidence your brain sees, the more it believes, and the more it believes, the faster the manifestation lands. That's the system. Morning calibration, midday check-in, evening evidence collection. 15 minutes total across the entire day. But those 15 minutes keep your frequency locked in, keep your identity solid, keep your assumption hardened. And that's what makes the difference between people who manifest once and people who manifest consistently for the rest of their lives. Now, I want to give you something incredibly practical. A day-by-day roadmap for your first 90 days of manifestation practice, because theory is beautiful, but application is where transformation happens. And most people fail not because they don't know what to do, but because they don't have a clear path forward. So I'm going to give you that path. 3 months, 90 days. Broken down into micro-challenges that build on each other, that create momentum, that wire your nervous system for manifestation mastery. Let's start with week 1. This is your foundation week. Your only job this week is to build awareness. You're not trying to manifest anything yet. You're just learning to see the patterns that have been running your life on autopilot. Day 1. Your task is to identify your primary block. Go back to the 7 blocks we talked about. Fear of success, unworthiness, conflicting desires, identity mismatch, energetic debt, receiver malfunction, false timelines. Which one is yours? Sit with each one for a minute. Notice which one makes your chest tighten or your stomach drop. That's the one. Write it down. Describe how it shows up in your life. Give 3 specific examples. This is just awareness. No fixing, no judgment, just naming. Day 2. Today you practice the translation process. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Do the 4-step exercise. Sensation, emotion, image, transmission. Do it once in the morning when you wake up. Do it once in the evening before bed. Just 10 minutes twice. You're not trying to manifest yet. You're just teaching your nervous system to recognize the frequency of already having. You're building the pathway. 10 minutes morning and evening. That's it. Day 3. Contradiction elimination day. Your job today is to catch yourself every time you speak, think, or act from the old identity. You don't have to fix it. You just have to notice. Carry a small notepad or use your phone. Every time you catch yourself saying something like, I can't afford that, or "This never works for me," or "I always struggle with this." You write it down. By the end of the day, you'll have a list. That list is gold. Those are your frequency leaks. Tomorrow, you'll start plugging them. But today, just collect them. Day 4. Today, you embody the new identity for 1 hour. Pick an hour in the middle of your day, from 2 to 3 or noon to 1, whatever works. During that hour, you are the person who already has your manifestation. You move like them. You think like them. You make decisions like them. If someone asks you something, you answer from that identity. If you're choosing what to eat, you choose from that identity. 1 hour, full immersion. And at the end of the hour, you write down what you noticed. What felt natural? What felt uncomfortable? What surprised you? Day 5. Evidence collection day. Today, your only job is to find 3 pieces of evidence, no matter how small, that prove your new assumption is already true. Maybe you wanted confidence and you spoke up in a meeting. That's evidence. Maybe you wanted financial abundance and someone paid for your coffee. That's evidence. Maybe you wanted love and a stranger smiled warmly at you. That's evidence. Find 3 things. Write them down. This trains your brain to look for proof instead of problems. Day 6. Detachment practice day. Today you do the translation exercise again, but after you transmit the frequency, you consciously let it go. You spend the rest of the day not thinking about your manifestation, not checking for signs, not wondering when it's coming. Every time your mind wanders to it, you redirect. You say out loud or in your mind, "It's handled. I trust." And you come back to the present moment. This is the hardest day of the week. Your brain will want to check constantly, but every time you redirect, you're building trust, and trust is the highest frequency. Day 7. Integration day. Today you do the full daily system. Morning calibration for 5 minutes. Midday identity check-in for 2 minutes. Evening evidence collection for 3 things. And then at the end of the day, you do a review. You look back at the week. You write down what shifted, how you feel different, what you learned, what surprised you, because you need to acknowledge your own progress. Your brain needs to see that the work is working, even if the big manifestation hasn't landed yet. That's week 1. 7 days. Small, doable tasks. But by the end of it, you've built a foundation that most people never build. You know your block. You know your frequency. You've practiced embodiment. You've collected evidence. You've practiced detachment. And you've integrated it all into a daily rhythm. Now let's move to week 2. This is your consistency week. You're going to take everything you learned in week 1 and you're going to do it every single day. No breaks, no exceptions. Because consistency is how new neural pathways get wired. One-off practices create temporary shifts. Daily practices create permanent transformation. Day 8 through 14. Every single day you do the morning calibration, the midday check-in, and the evening evidence collection. No negotiation. You set alarms if you have to. And in addition to that baseline practice, you have a specific challenge for each day. Day 8. Today you reframe one limiting belief. Go back to your list from day 3, all those contradictory statements you caught yourself saying. Pick one, the one that feels the most charged, and you rewrite it. If you said, "I can't afford that," you rewrite it as, "I'm choosing how I allocate my resources right now, and more is always flowing to me." If you said, "This never works for me," you rewrite it as, "I'm learning what works for me, and I'm getting better every day." Write the new version 10 times. Say it out loud 10 times. Let it sink into your subconscious. Day 9. Today you embody the identity for 2 hours. You did 1 hour last week. Now you're doubling it. Pick 2 hours. They don't have to be consecutive. During those 2 hours, you are your future self. Full commitment. And you pay attention to how reality responds. Do people treat you differently? Do opportunities show up differently? Do you feel differently? Write it down. Day 10. Today you take one aligned action. Something your future self would do that your current self has been avoiding. Maybe it's signing up for that class. Maybe it's reaching out to that person. Maybe it's investing in that tool. One action that says, "I'm the person who does this now." And you do it without overthinking. You do it from the identity, not from fear or hope. Day 11. Today you practice assumption looping. You're going to script in past tense for 5 minutes in the morning, and you're going to use the exact same script you'll use for the next 7 days. I remember the day it happened. I remember how easy it was. I remember the relief I felt. I remember calling my best friend and hearing the joy in their voice. Whatever your version is, you write it or speak it, and you use the same words every single day. Because repetition is how assumptions harden. Day 12. Today you activate the synchronicity loop. In the morning you set a clear intention. Show me 3 signs today that my manifestation is unfolding. And then you stay alert. When you see a sign, any sign, you acknowledge it out loud. I see you. Thank you. And then you take one aligned action in response. If you see repeating numbers, you do the thing you've been procrastinating on. If someone mentions something that resonates, you follow up on it. 3 signs, 3 aligned actions. By the end of the day, you've closed 3 synchronicity loops. Day 13. Today is Resistance Day. You're going to sit down for 15 minutes and you're going to let all your doubts come up. You're going to write them down. Every fear, every objection, every reason your brain thinks this won't work. And you're not going to argue with them. You're just going to let them speak. Because resistance doesn't go away when you ignore it. It goes away when you acknowledge it and choose to move forward anyway. So you write it all down. And then at the bottom of the page, you write 1 sentence. I hear you, and I'm doing this anyway. And you move on. Day 14. Today is Celebration Day. You review the last 2 weeks. You look at where you started and where you are now, and you celebrate every tiny shift. You don't wait for the big manifestation to celebrate. You celebrate the fact that you showed up every day. You celebrate the fact that you're rewiring your brain. You celebrate the evidence you've collected. You write down at least 5 wins from the last 2 weeks, no matter how small. And you let yourself feel proud. Because pride is a high-frequency emotion, and it accelerates manifestation. Now we're moving into week 3. This is your deepening week. The practices are the same, but you're going to add layers. You're going to go beneath the surface. You're going to start working with your subconscious in ways that create shifts most people never reach. Day 15 through 21. Day 15. Today you do past self-integration. This is the practice where you go back to a younger version of yourself and heal the origin wound that created your block. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Call up a memory from your childhood or teenage years. A moment when you first felt the wound that's blocking you now. Maybe it was rejection. Maybe it was failure. Maybe it was shame. See that younger version of yourself clearly. And then you, as your current self, step into the memory. You approach them. You kneel down if they're a child. You look them in the eyes. And you tell them the truth. You tell them they are worthy. You tell them they are loved. You tell them the thing that happened wasn't about them. And you hold them. Let them cry if they need to. Let them release. Stay with them until you feel the shift. This might take 5 minutes. It might take 20. But when it's done, you'll feel lighter. And the block will have loosened. Day 16. Today you do future self-dialogue. Close your eyes. Take a few breaths. And call in your future self, the version of you who already has everything you're manifesting. Let them appear in your mind's eye. And then you ask them questions. How did this happen? What did I need to let go of? What was the turning point? What do I need to know right now? And you listen. The answers might come as words. They might come as images or feelings, but they will come. Write down everything you receive, because your future self is not outside of you. They're you at a different frequency, and when you open the channel, they guide you. Day 17. Today you create a frequency anchor. Do the translation exercise. Drop into the sensation, the emotion, the image. Load the frequency fully into your body. And while you're in that peak state, create a physical anchor. Press your thumb and forefinger together. Hold it for 10 seconds while you feel the frequency at its strongest. Do this 3 times today. Morning, midday, evening. Each time, load the frequency and activate the anchor. By the end of the day, your nervous system will have started wiring the frequency to that physical gesture. And from now on, whenever you need to access that frequency quickly, you just activate the anchor. Day 18. Today you do identity immersion for 4 hours. This is a big leap from 2 hours. 4 hours of being your future self without breaking character. You wake up, you stay in that identity for 4 hours straight. Every decision, every word, every action. From that identity. And you notice everything. How does your body feel different? How do your thoughts change? How do people respond to you? This is deep work. This is the work that rewires identity at the root level. Day 19. Today you practice energetic clearing. Sit down for 20 minutes. Close your eyes. And scan your body for any heavy, dense, low-frequency energy. Maybe it's in your chest. Maybe it's in your gut. Maybe it's in your shoulders. And you breathe into it. You imagine breathing light into that space. And with every exhale, you imagine the dense energy dissolving and flowing out of your body and into the earth. You do this until the space feels lighter. This is how you clear energetic debt. This is how you release old resentments, old guilt, old shame. And the clearer your field, the faster your manifestations come. Day 20. Today you do a manifestation audit. You look at everything you've manifested in the last 2 weeks. Not just the thing you're focused on, but everything. Maybe you manifested a great conversation. Maybe you manifested a parking spot. Maybe you manifested a moment of clarity. You write down every single thing, no matter how small. And then you look at the pattern. What frequency were you in when these things showed up? That's your manifestation frequency. That's the state you want to cultivate more of. Day 21. Today is integration and rest. You do your baseline practice, morning, midday, evening, but you don't add anything extra. You let the last 2 weeks integrate. You journal about what's shifted. You acknowledge how much deeper you've gone. And you rest, because integration happens in the rest. The work you've done over the last 3 weeks has been rewiring your brain, shifting your frequency, transforming your identity. And your nervous system needs time to catch up. So today you rest, you trust, you let it all settle. Now we're moving into week 4 and beyond. This is where you start to see the fruits of your work. This is where the outer world starts catching up to the inner shift. But this is also where people relapse, because when you start seeing results, the temptation is to either grip them too tightly or to stop doing the practices because you think you've arrived. Both are traps. So week 4 is about sustainability. It's about building a practice that lasts not just for 90 days, but for the rest of your life. Day 22 through 28. You continue the baseline. Morning, midday, evening. You continue the assumption looping. Same script, every day. And now you're focusing on maintenance and relapse prevention. Day 22. Today you identify your relapse triggers. What situations make you most likely to slip back into the old frequency? Is it talking to certain people? Is it checking your bank account? Is it scrolling social media? Write down your top 3 triggers, and then you create a protocol for each one. If I talk to this person and feel myself slipping, I will excuse myself and do my frequency anchor. If I check my bank account and panic starts, I will immediately do 3 deep breaths and remind myself of my assumption. You create the plan before the trigger hits, because in the moment, your prefrontal cortex goes offline and you'll default to old patterns unless you've pre-programmed the response. Day 23. Today you practice the reset ritual. Even though you haven't relapsed yet, you're going to practice what you'll do when you do, because relapses are inevitable. They're part of the process. So you sit down, you take 3 deep breaths, and you walk yourself through the ritual. I notice I've slipped. That's okay. It doesn't mean I've failed. It means I'm human. Do I still want this? Yes, okay, I'm starting again right now. And then you do 1 practice, just 1. The translation exercise or the identity embodiment or the evidence collection. Anything. You practice this today so that when you need it for real, it's already wired in. Day 24. Today you do a belief inventory. You write down everything you currently believe about your manifestation. Is it coming? How long will it take? What has to happen first? And you look at those beliefs with fresh eyes. Are they serving you? Are they hardened assumptions or are they flexible preferences? If any belief feels heavy or limiting, you rewrite it. You upgrade it. You choose a belief that feels more aligned with the frequency of already having. Day 25. Today you take a bigger aligned action. Something that feels slightly scary. Something that your old self would never do, but your new self does without thinking. Maybe it's having a conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's making an investment. Maybe it's claiming something publicly. One action that locks in the new identity at a deeper level. And after you do it, you acknowledge yourself. You write down how it felt. You celebrate that you did it. Because every aligned action strengthens the neural pathway. Day 26. Today you practice surrender at a new level. You're going to spend the entire day as if your manifestation has already happened and you've moved on to the next thing. You're not thinking about it. You're not checking for it. You're living in the frequency of someone who's already received and integrated their desire. This is advanced detachment. This is the frequency that makes manifestations land fast. Because when you're no longer energetically gripping, there's no resistance, and the universe can deliver without obstruction. Day 27. Today you do a synchronicity review. You look back at the last 3 weeks and you write down every single synchronicity you noticed. Every repeating number, every unexpected message, every symbolic encounter. And you look at the pattern. How often are they showing up? Are they getting more frequent? What themes are emerging? This review strengthens your trust, because when you see all the evidence in one place, you can't deny that something is happening. The unseen is responding, and that knowing accelerates everything. Day 28. Today is your 4-week milestone. You sit down with your journal and you do a full assessment. Where were you on day 1? Where are you now? What's different in your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors, your circumstances? Write it all down. And then you set an intention for the next phase. Because you're not done, you're just getting started. But you need to acknowledge how far you've come. You need to see your own transformation. And when you do, your belief deepens. And deep belief is unstoppable. Now let's talk about what happens from day 29 to day 90. Because this is the stretch where most people either become masters or they plateau. The first 4 weeks are exciting. Everything is new. You're seeing shifts. You're feeling motivated. But by week 5, week 6, the novelty wears off. The practices start to feel routine. The doubt creeps back in. This is the danger zone. This is where you have to choose. Do you keep going even when it's not exciting anymore? Do you trust the process even when you can't see massive results yet? Because this is where mastery is built. Not in the peak moments. In the mundane, consistent, show-up everyday moments. So here's what you do from day 29 to day 90. You keep the baseline. Morning, midday, evening. Every single day. No exceptions. That's non-negotiable. And then, once a week, you do a deeper practice. One of the advanced techniques. Past self-integration, future self-dialogue, energetic clearing, identity immersion, whatever feels most needed that week. You cycle through them. And once a week, you do a review. You look at the evidence from the week. You acknowledge the shifts. You course correct if you've slipped. And you set the intention for the next week. And here's the key. You stop looking for the big manifestation. You stop checking. You stop wondering when. Because by now, if you've done the work, the inner shift has happened. The frequency is locked in. The identity is solid. The assumption is hardened. And the outer world is rearranging itself behind the scenes. Your job is not to watch for it. Your job is to stay in the frequency and let it come in its own timing. And the more you can do that, the more you can trust without needing proof, the faster it comes. By day 60, you're going to notice something interesting. The practices won't feel like practices anymore. They'll feel like who you are. The morning calibration won't be something you have to remember to do. It'll be as natural as brushing your teeth. The identity won't be something you try on. It'll be your default state. And the evidence won't be something you have to hunt for. It'll be everywhere, because your frequency will have stabilized. And when your frequency stabilizes, reality has no choice but to match it consistently. By day 90, you'll look back and barely recognize the person you were on day 1. Your beliefs will be different. Your behaviors will be different. Your entire energetic signature will be different. And whether the specific thing you are manifesting has shown up in physical form or not, you'll know with absolute certainty that it's done. Because you'll feel it. You'll feel the doneness in your body. You'll feel the inevitability of it. And that feeling, that knowing, is the final frequency shift that collapses all remaining timelines and brings the manifestation into form. Now let's talk about the most common relapse patterns and how to catch them before they sabotage you. Because knowing the practices is only half the equation. The other half is recognizing the sneaky ways your subconscious will try to keep you safe by keeping you stuck. Relapse pattern 1 is productive procrastination. This is where you stay busy with manifestation-adjacent activities but never actually do the practices. You buy another book. You watch another video. You join another course. You talk about manifestation constantly, but you don't do the frequency calibration. You don't embody the identity. You don't script. You stay in learning mode because learning feels safe. Doing feels risky. The way to catch this is to ask yourself every night before bed, did I do my practices today or did I just consume information about the practices? If you've spent more time learning than doing, you're in productive procrastination. The fix is simple. Close the book. Turn off the video. Set a timer for 5 minutes and do one practice, just one. That breaks the pattern. Relapse pattern 2 is evidence addiction. This is where you need constant proof that it's working, and when you don't get it fast enough, you spiral. You check your bank account every hour. You refresh your email constantly. You analyze every interaction for signs. And when the evidence isn't obvious, you collapse into doubt. The way to catch this is to notice how often you're checking. If you're checking more than once a day, you're in evidence addiction. And evidence addiction is desperation, which is low frequency, which repels manifestation. The fix is to set designated evidence check-ins. Once in the evening, you collect your 3 pieces of evidence. That's it. The rest of the day, you trust. You stay present. You stop looking. Because the more you look, the more you're operating from lack. Relapse pattern 3 is comparison collapse. This is where you see someone else's manifestation success and you think, why them and not me? What am I doing wrong? They manifested in 3 weeks and I've been trying for 3 months. This must not work for me. I must be broken. Comparison collapse is deadly because it shifts your frequency from abundance to scarcity in an instant. The way to catch this is to notice the energy shift when you see someone else's win. If you feel contraction instead of expansion, you're in comparison collapse. The fix is to reframe immediately. Their success is evidence that manifestation works. If it worked for them, it can work for you. You're not in competition. You're in a responsive universe that has infinite resources. Their win doesn't take from your win. It proves that wins are possible. Use their success as fuel, not as a weapon against yourself. Say out loud, their success proves this works. My success is on its way. Relapse pattern 4 is the need for understanding. This is where you can't move forward until you understand exactly how it's going to happen. You want the blueprint. You want the step-by-step plan. You want to see the bridge from here to there. And because you can't see it, you don't take action. You wait, you analyze, you try to figure it out. But manifestation doesn't work that way. You don't get to see the whole staircase. You just get to see the next step. And you have to trust that as you take each step, the next one will appear. The way to catch this is to notice when you're stuck in analysis paralysis. If you're spending more time thinking about how than feeling the frequency of already having, you're in the need for understanding. The fix is to let go of the how. Do your practices. Embody the identity, collect evidence, and trust that the universe is lining up the how behind the scenes. Your job is not to figure out the how. Your job is to hold the frequency. Relapse pattern 5 is the urgency trap. This is where you decide it has to happen fast, and when it doesn't, you panic. You add more techniques. You effort harder. You start forcing, and all of that urgency is the frequency of desperation, which repels manifestation. The way to catch this is to notice tension in your body when you think about your manifestation. If there's tightness in your chest or your jaw or your shoulders, you're in the urgency trap. The fix is to slow down. Take 3 deep breaths. Place your hand on your heart. And remind yourself that the universe operates on perfect timing, not your timeline. And then ask yourself, what if I'm okay either way? What if I already have everything I need right now? Sit with that until the urgency dissolves. Because urgency is a frequency of lack, and lack cannot manifest abundance. Now let me give you one more real-life example that ties all of this together. There was a woman named Maya. She wanted to manifest her dream career. She'd been stuck in a job she hated for 5 years. She'd been visualizing. She'd been affirming. She'd been networking. Nothing was moving. Then she learned everything you're learning right now, and she committed to the 90-day process. The first week, she identified her block. It was unworthiness. She didn't believe she deserved to have a career she loved. She believed that was for other people, special people, lucky people, not her. So she started working with that block. She did the past self-integration. She went back to age 12 when her father told her she wasn't smart enough to do what she wanted. And she healed that wound. She told her 12-year-old self, he was wrong. You are brilliant. You are capable. You are worthy. Week 2, she started the assumption looping. Every morning, she scripted. I remember the day I got the offer for my dream job. I remember how shocked I was at how perfect it was. I remember calling my sister and crying happy tears. Same script, 7 days straight, and something started to shift. She stopped feeling desperate. She stopped hating her current job. She started seeing it as a stepping stone instead of a prison. Week 3, she did the identity immersion for 4 hours. And during those 4 hours, she sent an email she'd been avoiding for months. She reached out to someone in her dream industry. Not from a place of I need you to give me a job, but from a place of I'm already in this world, and I'd love to connect. The person responded within an hour. They had coffee. They hit it off. No job offer, but a genuine connection. Week 4, she did the surrender practice. She spent an entire day not thinking about the career at all. She just lived in the frequency of someone who was already fulfilled, already successful, already exactly where they wanted to be. And that night she got an email. A position had opened up at a company she didn't even know existed. Someone from her network recommended her. She interviewed. She got the offer. It was everything she'd scripted, down to details she didn't even realize she'd included. The whole process from day 1 to the offer took 63 days. Not 3 years, not 5 years, 63 days. Because she did the work. She didn't just visualize. She shifted her frequency. She rewired her identity. She hardened her assumption, and the universe matched it. That's what's possible for you. Not someday. Not if you're lucky. Right now. If you do the work. If you commit to the process. If you trust the unseen even when you can't see the evidence yet. Because the unseen is always listening. The unseen is always responding. And the moment you learn its language, it obeys. So here's the final piece, the transformation promise. The shift that happens when you complete this work and integrate it fully into your life. You become someone who doesn't hope for things. You become someone who knows. You don't wish. You don't try. You don't force. You just set the frequency and let reality rearrange itself. And that shift, from hoping to knowing, changes everything. You stop feeling powerless. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstance. You stop believing that life happens to you. You start knowing that life happens through you, that you are the creative force, that your frequency is the command, and the universe, the field, the unseen, whatever you want to call it, is the responder, and it responds every single time without fail. Not because you're special, not because you got lucky, but because that's the law. That's how it works. Frequency in, reality out. Always. Every time. And when you live from that knowing, manifestation stops being something you do and becomes something you are. You don't sit down to manifest anymore. You just live. And as you live, things show up. Opportunities appear. People arrive. Money flows. Love finds you. Not because you're trying, but because you're being the frequency, being the identity, being the assumption. And reality has no choice but to reflect that back to you in material form. That's mastery. That's what awaits you on the other side of this 90-day journey. Not just one manifestation, but a complete transformation of how you move through the world. You become someone the universe says yes to. Not sometimes, every time. Because you've learned the language. You speak fluently, and the unseen obeys. So here's my final question for you. The question that will determine whether you're one of the 3 people who manifests $1 million or one of the 3 who gets nothing. Are you willing to do the work? Not just read about it, not just understand it, but actually do it. Every day for 90 days. Even when it's boring. Even when you don't see results yet. Even when doubt shows up. Are you willing to trust the process more than you trust your current circumstances? Because if you are, if you commit right now to the next 90 days, your life will never be the same. The version of you that exists 90 days from now will barely recognize the version of you that's listening to this right now. Your beliefs will be different. Your frequency will be different. Your reality will be different. And you'll look back at this moment and think, that was the day everything changed. That was the day I stopped hoping and started knowing. That was the day I learned the language of the unseen. And everything after that was inevitable. Remember Sarah? 3 years of visualizing got her nowhere. 4 months of embodying the identity got her the keys to her dream house. The sentence her friend told her was, stop asking for the house. Become the person who lives in the house. That's the entire teaching in one sentence. Stop asking. Start being. Stop wanting. Start having. Stop trying. Start trusting. And let the unseen do what it does best. Obey. The 3 people who manifested $1 million this year did exactly what you just learned. They shifted their frequency. They embodied the identity. They hardened the assumption. And reality matched it. You're one of those 3 people now. You have the knowledge. You have the process. You have the roadmap. The only question left is, will you use it? Now let me give you the advanced relapse-proofing strategies that will carry you through the inevitable rough patches. Because here's what nobody tells you. The path to manifestation mastery isn't a straight line. It's not a smooth upward trajectory. It's more like a spiral. You'll have breakthrough days where everything clicks and you feel unstoppable. And then you'll have breakdown days where you feel like you've lost everything and you're back at square one. But here's the truth. You're never back at square one. You're on a spiral. You're at a higher level than before. You're just facing a similar pattern from a more evolved perspective. And if you know this ahead of time, if you expect the spiral, you won't panic when it shows up. Let me tell you about the breakdown before breakthrough pattern. This is one of the most predictable patterns in manifestation work, and it's the reason most people quit right before their manifestation lands. Here's how it works. You do the practices. Your frequency shifts. Your identity starts to solidify. Everything feels good, and then, seemingly out of nowhere, everything falls apart. Your circumstances get worse, not better. Doubt floods in stronger than ever. Old patterns resurface with a vengeance, and your brain screams, see, I knew this wouldn't work. This is all garbage. I should just give up. But what's actually happening is this. Your old identity is having its final death throes. Your old frequency is making one last attempt to pull you back to the familiar. Because as much as you consciously want the new life, your subconscious is terrified of it. Change equals danger to the subconscious, even if the change is positive. So right before the new identity fully locks in, right before the manifestation lands, the old identity fights back. Hard. And if you don't know this is coming, You'll interpret it as failure. You'll think the process isn't working. And you'll quit right before the breakthrough. So here's what you do when the breakdown hits. First, you recognize it for what it is. You say, oh, this is the breakdown before breakthrough pattern. I know this pattern. This means I'm close. This means the old identity is dying. This means the manifestation is right around the corner. You name it. You identify it. And immediately, it loses half its power. Because when you know what's happening, you don't get swept away by it. Second, you double down on your practices. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're anchoring deeper. When the storm hits, you don't abandon the ship. You drop anchor. So you do your morning calibration. You do your midday check-in. You do your evening evidence collection. You do them even when they feel pointless. Especially when they feel pointless. Because the practices are not about feeling good. The practices are about staying in the frequency, regardless of how you feel. And that's what builds mastery. Third, you call in support. This is not the time to isolate. This is the time to reach out. Talk to someone who understands the process. Someone who can remind you of how far you've come. Someone who can hold the vision for you when you can't hold it for yourself. And if you don't have that person in your life, you write yourself a letter from your future self. You write, "Dear past me, I know it feels impossible right now. I know you're scared. But I'm writing to you from the other side, and I'm here to tell you, you made it. You didn't quit. You kept going. And I'm so proud of you. Keep going. It's right around the corner." You write that letter, you read it out loud, and you let those words anchor you. Fourth, you look for the gift in the breakdown. Because every breakdown carries information. It shows you where you still have resistance. It shows you what beliefs are still active. It shows you what needs to be cleared. So you ask, what is this breakdown trying to show me? What old belief is surfacing? What fear is asking to be acknowledged? And you work with it. You don't suppress it. You don't bypass it. You integrate it, and once it's integrated, it loses its grip on you. And you move forward lighter, clearer, more aligned than before. Now let's talk about the micro challenges for the final stretch. Days 61 through 90. This is the home stretch. This is where you solidify everything. This is where you become unshakable. And the way you do that is through escalating challenges that push you just beyond your comfort zone without overwhelming you. Day 61. Today you do a full day identity immersion. From the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, you are your future self. No breaks, no exceptions. This is not a 4-hour practice anymore. This is 16 hours of full embodiment. And you document everything. How does it feel to live an entire day as that person? What shifts? What becomes effortless? What still feels hard? You write it all down. Because this day is a preview of your new baseline. Day 62. Today you take a bold action. Something that scares you. Something that your old self would never do. Maybe it's posting about your manifestation publicly. Maybe it's applying for the thing you don't feel qualified for. Maybe it's having the conversation you've been avoiding. One bold action that signals to the universe and to your subconscious, I'm serious. I'm not playing small anymore. I'm claiming this. And after you do it, you sit with whatever comes up. Fear, excitement, doubt, relief. You feel it all without judgment. And then you let it move through you. Day 63. Today you practice the art of non-reaction. Something will happen today that would have triggered your old identity. A bill, a rejection, a disappointment, something. And instead of reacting from the old pattern, you pause. You take 3 deep breaths. You activate your frequency anchor. And you respond from your new identity. You respond from the person who already has their manifestation. How would that person handle this? What would they think? What would they do? You embody that response. And in that moment, you prove to yourself that the new identity is real. It's not just a concept. It's operational. Day 64. Today you do a manifestation timeline review. You go back through your journal from day 1. You read every entry. You look at how your thoughts have changed, how your beliefs have shifted, how your behaviors have evolved, and you create a timeline. You map out every. Day 65. Today you practice radical gratitude, not generic thank yous, but specific visceral gratitude for things that haven't shown up yet. You write, I am so grateful that my manifestation arrived exactly when it was supposed to. I am so grateful for the way it happened, even better than I imagined. I am so grateful for the lessons I learned while waiting. You write as if it's already done, as if you're looking back from the future, and you let yourself feel the gratitude fully. Let it wash over you. Let it fill your chest, because gratitude is one of the highest frequencies. And when you feel grateful for what hasn't arrived yet, you collapse the timeline between now and then. Day 66 through 70. These 5 days are your surrender intensive. Your only job for these 5 days is to release control. You do your baseline practices morning, midday, evening. But beyond that, you don't think about your manifestation. You don't check for signs. You don't wonder when. You just live. You just be. You immerse yourself fully in the present moment. You notice beauty. You feel gratitude. You enjoy your life as it is right now. Because this is the ultimate test of detachment. Can you be happy before the thing arrives? Can you feel abundant before the money shows up? Can you feel loved before the person appears? If you can, you've mastered the frequency. And the manifestation has no choice but to land. Day 71. Today you do a belief upgrade ceremony. You write down every old belief you held on day 1. I'm not worthy. This never works for me. I'm not lucky. Good things happen to other people. You write them all down, and then you ceremonially release them. Maybe you burn the paper. Maybe you rip it up and throw it away. Maybe you bury it. Whatever feels right. And then you write down your new beliefs. I am worthy. I am a powerful manifester. The universe says yes to me. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And you read these new beliefs out loud 10 times. You let them sink into your bones. This is your new operating system, and it's fully installed. Day 72 through 80. These 9 days are your consistency challenge. Your job is simple. Do your baseline practices every single day. No matter what. No matter how you feel. No matter what happens. You're proving to yourself that you can show up even when you don't want to. Even when it feels boring. Even when you can't see results. Because this is the skill that separates people who manifest once from people who manifest for a lifetime. The ability to show up consistently, regardless of external circumstances or internal states. Day 81. Today you do future self-dialogue again. But this time, you go even further into the future. You call in the version of yourself who's 5 years past this manifestation. The version who's manifested 10 other things since then. The version for whom this current desire is ancient history. And you ask them, what advice do you have for me? What do you wish you'd known? What did you learn? And you listen. And you write down everything they say. Because this version of you has wisdom that your current self doesn't have access to. And tapping into that wisdom now accelerates your entire journey. Day 82. Today you celebrate prematurely. You celebrate as if your manifestation has already arrived. You dress up. You go somewhere special. You treat yourself to something you've been wanting. You act as if, not from a place of fake it till you make it desperation, but from a place of genuine celebration, because in the unseen it's already done. The unseen doesn't operate in linear time, so you're not celebrating something that hasn't happened. You're celebrating something that has happened. You just can't see it in physical form yet. And when you celebrate, you send a massive signal to the universe. You say, I know it's done. I trust you completely. And that signal of absolute trust is what collapses the final barriers. Day 83. Today you mentor someone else. You teach what you've learned. Maybe you help a friend who's struggling with their own manifestation. Maybe you write a post sharing your process. Maybe you just have a conversation where you explain frequency, identity, and assumption. Teaching is how you deepen your own understanding. And when you teach from the place of someone who's already succeeded, even if your manifestation hasn't physically arrived yet, you embody that frequency. You become the person who knows, and the universe matches that. Day 84 through 90. These final 7 days are your integration week. You're not adding anything new. You're just being. You're living from the new identity so naturally that it doesn't feel like a practice anymore. It just feels like you. You do your baseline practices. You stay in the frequency. You notice synchronicities. You collect evidence. But it's all effortless now. It's automatic. Your nervous system has rewired. Your brain has built new neural pathways. Your identity is locked in. And you're just waiting for physical reality to catch up to the energetic reality you've already created. And on day 90, you do a final assessment. You sit down with your journal. You look back at where you were on day 1. You look at where you are now. And you acknowledge the transformation, not just in what you've manifested, but in who you've become, because that's the real gift of this process. The manifestation is just the evidence. The transformation is the prize. You've become someone who speaks the language of the unseen, someone who knows how to shift frequency at will, someone who can create reality instead of just reacting to it. That's power. That's freedom. That's mastery. Now let me give you one final visualization to anchor everything we've covered. This is the master integration practice. It's going to take about 15 minutes. If you're driving or somewhere you can't close your eyes, save this for later. But when you do it, it's going to lock in everything at a cellular level. It's going to complete the transformation. So find a comfortable position. Sit or lie down. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold it at the top for 4. Exhale through your mouth for 6. All the air out. Do that 2 more times. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. 1 more. In, hold, release. Let your body soften. Let the ground hold you. Let the space around you support you. You're safe. You're held. You're exactly where you need to be. Now imagine you're standing at the base of a mountain. This mountain represents your manifestation journey. At the bottom, where you are now, everything is familiar. You can see the path you've been walking. You can see where you started. And now you look up. At the peak of the mountain, you can see a figure. It's you, your future self, the version who has everything you've been manifesting. They're standing at the top, bathed in light, and they're waving at you, beckoning you forward. Come up, they're saying. Come up and join me, so you start climbing. With each step, you feel yourself getting lighter. With each step, an old belief, an old pattern, an old fear falls away. You don't have to try to release them. They just drop, step by step. Halfway up the mountain, you pause. You turn around and look at how far you've come. You can barely see the bottom anymore. You've climbed so far, and for a moment you feel proud. You feel grateful. You feel strong, and then you turn back toward the peak and you keep climbing. As you get closer to the top, you start to hear things. You hear laughter. You hear music. You hear celebration, and you realize there are other people up there. Other people who've learned the language of the unseen. Other people who've made the climb, and they're all waiting for you, celebrating you, cheering you on. You're almost there. Just a few more steps. And then you reach the peak, and your future self turns toward you, and they smile, the biggest, warmest smile you've ever seen. And they open their arms, and you step into them. And as they embrace you, you feel it. You feel the frequency of everything you've ever wanted. The peace, the abundance, the love, the freedom, the joy. It floods your entire body. Every cell, every molecule. You're vibrating at the frequency of complete fulfillment. And then your future self whispers in your ear, you did it. You didn't give up. You kept climbing, and now you're here. Welcome home. And as they say those words, they begin to dissolve into you. They merge with you. They become you. And you realize this isn't the future. This is now. This is who you are right now. Not who you will become. Who you already are. The climb was just you remembering. Remembering your power. Remembering your frequency. Remembering that you are the creator. Now look around. You're standing at the peak of the mountain. And from up here you can see everything. You can see your entire life spread out before you. Past, present, and future. And you see something you couldn't see from the bottom. Everything has been leading to this moment. Every challenge, every setback, every doubt. It was all part of the climb. It was all necessary. It was all perfect. And now you're here. And from here, everything is possible. From here, manifestation is not something you do. It's something you are. Take a deep breath as this version of yourself. Feel the power in your body. Feel the certainty in your heart. Feel the light radiating from you. And know that this is your new baseline. This is your new normal. This is who you are from this moment forward. You are the person who makes the unseen obey. Not through force, not through control, but through alignment, through frequency, through trust. Now slowly bring your awareness back to your physical body. Feel yourself sitting or lying here. Feel the ground beneath you. Feel the air on your skin. And know that even though you're opening your eyes, even though you're coming back to the physical world, you're bringing that peak state frequency with you. It's not something you left on the mountain. It's something you are now. Take one final deep breath. In through the nose. Hold it. And as you exhale, let this new frequency anchor into every cell of your body. Lock it in. Seal it. Make it permanent. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Welcome back. You're not the same person who started listening to this audiobook. You've been transformed, and that transformation is irreversible. You can't unknow what you now know. You can't unbecome who you now are. The unseen has recognized you. It's registered your frequency. And from this moment forward, it's responding to you differently. Opportunities will start appearing that weren't there before. People will start showing up who align with your new frequency. Circumstances will start shifting to match your new identity. Not all at once, not in a big dramatic moment, but steadily, consistently, undeniably. And here's what you need to remember. When the manifestation lands, and it will, it's going to feel normal. It's going to feel natural. You might even feel a little underwhelmed. Not because it's not amazing, but because by the time it arrives, you'll already be the person for whom that manifestation is normal. You'll already have integrated it at an identity level. So when it shows up in physical form, it'll just feel like, oh yeah, of course. This makes sense. This is who I am, and that's how you'll know the work worked. Not because you feel ecstatic, but because you feel at home. So as we close, I want to leave you with a few final pieces of guidance. First, trust your inner timing more than any external timeline. Your manifestation will arrive exactly when you're ready for it. Not a moment before, not a moment after. And ready doesn't mean when you think you're ready. It means when your frequency has fully stabilized, when your identity has fully integrated, when your assumption has fully hardened. Trust that the universe is not withholding from you, it's preparing you. Second, stay in your own lane. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's. Someone else manifested their thing in 2 weeks and you're on week 8. That doesn't mean anything except that you're on different timelines. Maybe they had less resistance to clear. Maybe you had deeper identity work to do. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you stay focused on your own process. You do your own practices. You trust your own timing. And you celebrate other people's wins as evidence that the process works, not as evidence that you're behind. Third, when doubt shows up, and it will, don't fight it. Don't try to positive think your way out of it. Just acknowledge it. Say, oh, there's doubt. That's normal. My brain is trying to keep me safe. Thank you, brain, but I'm doing this anyway. And then do one practice. Just one. The translation exercise or the frequency anchor or the evidence collection. One practice to remind your nervous system what's true. And the doubt will ease, not because you forced it away, but because you redirected your focus to the frequency. Fourth, celebrate every single win, big or small, every synchronicity, every aligned action, every moment of inner peace. Every time you catch yourself thinking from the new identity, celebrate it, because what you celebrate you amplify, and amplification accelerates manifestation. So don't wait until the big thing arrives to celebrate. Celebrate the breadcrumbs. Celebrate the evidence. Celebrate your own commitment to the process. Celebration is a high-frequency emotion, and the more you feel it, the more you attract circumstances that give you more to celebrate. Fifth, remember that this is not a one-time process. This is a new way of living. You're not learning a technique to get one thing and then go back to your old life. You're learning a language, and once you speak it fluently, you speak it forever. So even after your manifestation lands, even after you've gotten the thing you wanted, keep doing the practices. Keep calibrating your frequency. Keep embodying your highest identity. Keep collecting evidence, because mastery is not a destination. It's a daily practice. And the more you practice, the more masterful you become. And finally, teach this. Share this. Pass this on. Because the more people who learn the language of the unseen, the more we all benefit. Manifestation is not a zero-sum game. There's no scarcity in the unseen. There's infinite abundance, infinite possibility, infinite resource. So when you help someone else learn how to manifest, you're not taking from your own supply. You're expanding the collective field. You're raising the frequency of everyone around you, and that benefits you too, because you exist in a field of interconnection. When others rise, you rise. When others thrive, you thrive. So go, take what you've learned here, apply it, test it, prove it to yourself, and then teach it to someone else. Because that's how we change the world. Not by waiting for external saviors, but by becoming conscious creators, by learning to speak the language of the unseen, by making reality obey our frequency instead of letting our frequency be dictated by reality. You are powerful beyond measure. You are creative beyond imagination. You are a walking, breathing manifestation machine. The only question is, what frequency are you broadcasting? Because whatever it is, reality is matching it. Right now, in this moment, and in the next moment, and in every moment that follows. So choose your frequency wisely. Choose your identity consciously. Choose your assumptions deliberately. And watch as the unseen bends, shifts, and materializes into the exact life you've been dreaming of. The 3 people who manifested $1 million this year, they're not special. They're not lucky. They're not chosen. They just learned the language. They spoke it fluently, and the unseen obeyed. You're one of them now. You know the language. You've practiced the translation. You've embodied the frequency. All that's left is to keep speaking. Keep broadcasting. Keep trusting. And let the unseen do what it does best. Obey. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your manifestation. Claim it. Own it. Become it. And let the world watch in awe as the invisible becomes visible, as the potential becomes actual, as the desired becomes the done. You are the manifester. You are the creator. You are the one who makes the unseen obey. Now go and create the life you were always meant to live.